Have you ever had a great idea for a game world but didn't want to go through all of the work of trying to come up with a bespoke game system that you tirelessly... Yeah, I know. Time for all of the kitties to leave. Welcome to the Dead Unicorn. My name is Corey, and we need to talk about the wonderful world of game licenses. I'm here back at the terrible table to do just that. I have a lot of ideas, like most narrators do. Not just about adventures and characters, but lore and world building. And in the before time of long, long ago, you'd create your own rules for your game world, and then you'd watch as your players would break them, or worse, show you how terrible they are at reflecting certain aspects of gameplay. Are you saying because of a quirk in the rules that a baby can throw a football 50 yards? Yeah, but if I fix that small part, everything else in the game breaks. Then along came the universal role-playing game, the GURPS and hero systems. They allowed you to just drop in whatever setting you wanted to play, and off you went, with varying success. But you couldn't publish using their rules, or at least directly copy them. You see, rule systems can't actually be copyrighted. Now, Legal Eagle did a great breakdown of this. I'll link you to the description, but I'll also kind of summarize it here. Words with Friends exist alongside Scrabble, even though they share many of the same rules, just like Palladium seems so much like Dungeons & Dragons. Using certain dice, rolling over a number, having health points, every other game mechanic can't actually be owned by anyone. But everything surrounding those mechanics can. For example, with Scrabble, the art on the board, the words triple word score, the exact wording of the instruction on the manual, all of it is protected by copyright. But if you change the board art, change triple word score to TL for triple letter, and write an instruction guide with your own wording, you can be in the clear. That doesn't mean these companies won't try and sue you. They just might. So I suggest if you do this, to consult a lawyer. Because I'm not one. I'm just a guy on the internet doing their best. This threat of litigation can be enough to scare away copycats, but you have a world you want to publish. Enter the gaming license. These are legal documents that allow third parties to reproduce participating game rules using exact wording. It's basically permission to plagiarize. And you might think that this sounds amazing, so where do I begin? And it is! So let me show you! First, you might be surprised to know that not all game systems have gaming license, so you need to check things out first. I found that these games do have a gaming license of some sort, but each one has different limitations. You gotta read them. I know, it's the worst thing in the world. The Savage Worlds Adventure Guild and Genesis Foundry have both partnered with DriveThruRPG, a PDF store that sells all sorts of RPG material. Because you have to sell exclusively through them, they can use tools to make sure that your product follows their guidelines and everyone involved can take a little cut of the sale. In fact, there's a clause in Foundry's condition that says you cannot sell physical copies. Only do it through RPG drive-thru. Only do it through DriveThruRPG. Still, DriveThruRPG is very popular and creators make good money publishing on that site. It has a good deal of tools that you can take advantage of to track sales and market to people, which might just be worth the percentage they take. Then there is GURPS Lite. Oh, you silly little thing. GURPS Lite is a cut-down version of GURPS, and it's free. Anyone can republish the rules or sell it, but only for the cost of printing. You can't make a profit. And it cannot be used in conjunction with anything else. So you can't put a setting book into the rules, and you can't publish it with anything else other than the rules. So basically, it's a gaming license in name only, and you can't do much with it. It's made to get people interested in GURPS, and I like GURPS. It's a good game. It's just not an open one. Finally, there's the Cypher Open License, the Open RPG Creative License, and the original Open Gaming License. These allow you to reprint most of their game, modify it, add your own creations and publish it without fees. They are really wonderful, wondrous things. Cypher Open License is for Cypher System. Open Gaming License is for the D20 system that runs Dungeons & Dragons. And the Open RPG Creative License, or ORC for short, is for Pathfinder. This one is interesting because it has mechanisms in place that allow any other writer to place their game under the ORC. So, if you're a game designer and you want people to use your system for their worlds, you can use the ORC instead of, hiring a lawyer to write your own game license. Though you still might want a lawyer to give you advice on whether the ORC might be right for you. ORC is super interesting as it solves a problem I have with other gaming license. You see, under the Open Game License and the Cypher Open License, they refer to a document that tells you what rules are able to be republished. And then everything else isn't. This is the System Reference Document, or SRD. For example, Mind Flayers and Beholders are copyrighted creations of Dungeons & Dragons and Wizards of the Coast. So since they're intellectual property, it seems reasonable that you can't use them in your own stuff. But there are other more common rules that you still cannot reproduce. For example, the entertainer background is not in the SRD, so you can't use their version of the entertainer background. Even though it seems generic enough, it should be in most games. Cypher has this problem as well, as their white setting books have great rules for those different kinds of settings. But you can't use them in your own published game that replicates those settings. It's very annoying when you're trying to create in those rule sets. If you publish under the ORC, any rules you make get added to the ORC by default. So the breadth of rules just keeps growing and growing as more people publish under it. Not only the people that made the original game, but also any other publishers as well keeps expanding it. It does this at the same time as protecting copyrighted world-building things. This can be a double-edged sword, as it does give you the permission to reprint a huge wealth of rules. But also know that any rule you work hard on will be up for grabs as well. While I think this trade-off is worth it, I'm sure there are many who would balk at this. So I bet you're thinking, if I were publishing, I would use the ORC because it's the most free. Yet, I really want to develop for Cypher because I see much more potential there. We all have our favorites, and restrictions be damned, we want to create. That's where the last type of license comes in, the fan license. This is the most dicey though. Basically, the creator is allowing people to make fan projects like adventures, videos, like fan videos, and dramatic podcasts. Some, like the Genesis Foundry and Dungeons & Dragons, have guidelines of what you can and can't do, and work exclusively through DriveThruRPG or their sister site, DM's Guild. There they have a list of what copyrighted materials you can use and what percentage they will take of the profits of any of the things that you create. But other fan licenses state that the work that you make for them can't be sold at all. You have to give it away for free. You should be thankful that they are allowing you to use their beloved world and characters at all. You see, copyright is only a copyright if you actively pursue protections of that work. If you let anyone try and take your characters or stories and remix them or retell them unchallenged, you may lose rights to them. Many terms like Game Master, Saving Throw, D20 are public domain because so many games now use them unchallenged. But on the other hand, if you read RPG books, they state that you should make your own adventures using their settings and characters and stories. Fan licenses try to thread that needle, allowing people to celebrate the worlds they love by adding to them, even if unofficially, while trying to protect their intellectual property. You might ask why my favorite game system doesn't have a game license. Every company has to do what's right for them. For example, Dungeons & Dragons became one of the most well-known games because of the OGL and allowed everyone to make content for it. But a game like Hero System, the system is their best-selling book, not any of their settings. Making the game open would essentially be giving away their bestseller for free. I hope this helped you if you ever thought about publishing your own world. I'd love to know, if you could, without restriction, what game you'd like to write for. Your dream RPG writing job. Mine would be for Legend of the Five Rings, naturally. Thanks to my patrons, they get to watch this ad-free, and they also gain access to some cool gaming books on my Patreon. But now, it's time for you to create. So buckle down, get to work, go roll some dice.